All right, we got a little more time, so let's go through this a little quicker. Look what I did. Look what I did right here. I knew what the midpoint was, right? They told me the midpoint this time. That's a little different. Normally, they would give you the two endpoints, and you got to find the midpoint. This time, they give you the endpoint. They give you one endpoint, this one, and they give you a midpoint, and we have to find the other endpoint. That's where it's a little trickier. Okay, you got to make sure you read the instructions on what they do. So what I did was this: I put the midpoint in for this midpoint. So the midpoint was negative 1, 2. I put a negative 1, 2. And this right here, I only knew one endpoint. I didn't know them both, did I? So I got to just keep this one x, and that's my other endpoint. That's the x to the other endpoint. Did the same thing with the y. Just keep this y. This is my other y value for that endpoint. All right? Does that make sense? That's the midpoint, and that's one part of the endpoint, that's the other part of the endpoint, and this is the part that I don't know, and that's what I'm trying to solve for.
Why did you pick them to be x2 instead of like x1?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't make any difference. You could have picked this. You could have gone 3 plus x1. Would it make any difference? X plus 3, 3 plus x? Nah, it doesn't make any difference. I just chose it that way. I don't know. I like the x first, maybe. That's why. Okay, so what I did now is this. See this thing that's circled? I took this. This is the x part. That's going to equal a negative 1. So x plus 3, or x1 plus 3, whatever you want to call it, over 2 equals negative 1. Now, how do I get x by itself? Multiply both sides by 2. So I multiply that by 2. That's how I got that negative 2. You with me? So watch. The 2's cancel out. X plus 3 is equal to negative 2. How do I solve for x now? Subtract a 3. X equals what? Negative 5. So that's half of my other endpoint. It's at negative 5. I do the same thing for this y. What am I going to set that equal to? If I set this equal to negative 1, what am I going to set the y equal to? Now, come on. Look, I set this equal to the x part of the midpoint. So I'm going to take this and set that equal to the y part of the midpoint. Set it equal to 2. So I don't like y plus negative, do you? I would just rather have it what? Y minus 5, isn't that the same thing? Over 2 equals what? 2. You see why I put a 2 here? Because the y equals the y, the x equals the x. Now let's solve for this. Get rid of the 2. How do we do that? No. Multiply. Well, it's plus a negative. Plus a negative is minus. So we multiply both sides by 2, right? That goes away. So look what I have. I've got y minus 5 equals what? 4. Add a 5 to both sides. It's just basic algebra 1 now, isn't it? That cancels out. It's y equals what? 9. Now, what's my answer? Remember, I'm trying to find that other endpoint, right? Well, look. What is that? It's a 9. That's your endpoint. So what point is that? That's point J, because that's my endpoint. Does that make any sense at all? So look what we did. Doesn't make any sense at all? Zary, come on. It makes a little bit of sense. You can't say it doesn't make any sense at all.
After you do the, as soon as you're about to do the part where you do the y minus 5 and 2.
Like right here?
Yeah, I get lost.
Okay, you just take this and set it equal to that. All right, let's do another one. All right, let's pause it. Okay, this is in the book. It's on the top of page 31. It's another problem. It's a problem that I'm just giving you a worksheet, so you won't see this one. But it's something like this. It says, find the coordinates of G. All right, so I'll put X and Y. We're trying to find what G is, and G is an endpoint, okay? And because you have line segment G, J. So G is an endpoint, J is an endpoint in this problem. Do you see that? Thing is, we don't know what this is. It says J has coordinates 6, negative 2. So J is 6, negative 2. So what is this? This is an endpoint, correct? And that's an endpoint. What else do you think they give us? They give us a midpoint. And they say the midpoint is F. All right? And F is 1. They put 3.5. That's okay. All right? That's your midpoint. All right? You follow me? Here's 2 endpoints. Here's a midpoint. So let's plug the stuff in. So first of all, I'm not going to write down the formula, but what we put in first? We put the midpoint, 1, 3.5 equals, now what does midpoint equal? If I take the x's and add them up and divide by 2, so look what I have. I've got an x plus 6. So I've got an x plus 6 and divide it by 2. What's the y thing going to be? It's going to be what? Y, come on.
Oh, y plus
Okay, instead of plus negative 2, what's a little easier than writing plus negative 2? Just minus 2. Don't you like that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Now don't get confused. This is still plus, isn't it? It's plus a negative, but it just looks a lot nicer if I write y minus 2. All right? Now, here's the part, Azaria, that you were talking about. Let's put this in a different color. We're going to take this. This is the x part of the midpoint. What should it equal? Oops, a little squiggly. It's going to equal 1. So we come up here and we say x plus 6 over 2 equals what? 1. And now we do our math. And this is the part that confused you a little bit. Is that what you said? Okay. First thing we do, it's just basic algebra. We got to get rid of that 2. Everything's being divided by that 2. How do we get rid of something that's being divided? We multiply. Do the opposite. So we multiply both sides by 2. Right? And you're going to do that every time, aren't you? Because that's always going to be a 2 on the bottom because that's what our midpoint formula is. So we multiply by 2. So bring out everything else. X plus 2 equals, or x plus 6 equals what? 2. And then one more step and you've got the x part. Subtract 6 from both sides. Make sense?
Yeah.
So x is negative 4. Now that's not our answer, is it? It's half of our answer. It's the x part. Now we do the exact same thing with the y. So we take this and we set it equal to the y part, the 3.5. So let's do that. So it's y minus 2 over 2 equals what? 3.5. And then you do the exact same math. What was the first step? Right, multiply both sides by 2. This actually works out a little easier than we thought. What's 3.5 times 2? It's just 7. Okay, added 2 to both sides. And what's y? 9. Now, we don't just circle these and write that as an answer, do we? What are we looking for? We're looking for an end point. So say it, Kenny. You want to write it as an what? Ordered pair. Good. So we write it as an ordered pair. So what is our x? Negative 4, right? Right here. And what was our y? 9. And that is our point. What point are we looking for?
The G.
G. So if you want, you don't have to do that, but if you want, you can put the G in front so that tells you what the end point is. You got it? It really doesn't get a whole lot harder than that one right there. That's about the toughest one as far as midpoint formula goes. All right? If you have questions on it, look, we did it twice today. So go on YouTube, look at it, and sometimes just hearing the same thing a couple times, you know, you might have been zoned out there for a little bit. You know, when you're watching it on the computer, you might be able to listen to it and understand. All right? Everybody say bye.
Bye.
YouTube.